Hello, here I am. Here I am right now. I know, I got lost. Many of you might be saying, was I since all this while? Even maybe you were wondering even whether I am dead or alive. I'm here now. I'm back to you. It's only, you know, I had commitments. I had commitments since all this time, and God willing, maybe next week I might not be with you. I mean that I might not give you live broadcast. You know why? Because next week I might go for a walk of God. Either here or there, I'll keep you company with video. If I'm here, I'll be, with you here giving you message. If not, I would just sending you live broadcast of what is happening, in the spiritual warfare and altar of where will I be? You will see footage. Otherwise, I will do the normal usual thing, giving you sermon, giving you message. So, well, how are you being, you people, since all this while? Than the all this time that I was not with you. So, it's almost Saturday morning. It's 2 a.m. here. And now let's start because of time. Today's message is what God wants more than anything else. So precious, so has twisted sense of humor. On exam days, after distributing test questions and giving us 1 minute to look at over them and examine, he would, leave the classroom. Just before closing the door, with a twinkle of his eye, you know, he would quip, "When you finish, you might pass out quietly." Hmm. I never liked the test as a student. Who likes? Hmm. You know, Moreover, if pursuing a career as a professor, I can't say, somehow it is usual, contrary to what we believe as students and more teachers don't. So, tests are two-way mirrors. They reflect how well the student learns and provided a window into how well the instruction taught. Test questions are like boomerangs. They came back to be dealt with, with those that who threw them out. Amen, somebody. When it comes to Mark 12, you find Jesus being tested. The class is trying to stick it to the teachers on edge before of a parable he recently shared. This is specifically, it is in Mark 12, 1 to 2. You know, they begin posing questions. First, the Pharisees and Herodians, unlikely studying partners, otherwise they get together and raise the question about paying tribute to Caesar. The Pharisees, like Caesar's, more about it as much as a Cuban American that, would like the Fidel Castro to be governor of Florida. You people know Fidel Castro. The Herodians, felt just the opposite. As much as the two parties disagreed on politics, they agreed in their animosity towards Jesus. If the Lord, if the Lord has risen on a bed and denounced paying Caesar's tributes, then the Herodians, that they would have accused before Rome. Going the other way, he would have incurred to pay taxes and taxpayers' rights. He would have also raised the eyebrows of pious Jews who believed the coins used to pay the tribute were coins that bore Caesar's image in the abomination. Instead, Jesus answered with those immortal words: "Render to Caesar those things that are Caesar's, and to God that are the things that are God's." Amen, somebody. So, then the Sadducees came. They did not believe in resurrection that laid out a test case about a widowed and the seven late husbands. Hmm, the one whose wife, whose wife could she possibly be, be in the world to come if there was no resurrection? So the whole proposition seemed, preposterous, how to call it, preposterous, but Jesus answered. His answers proved so wise, so incisive, and it is circumscribed to how, saying that he was silent to his critics that felt compelled to speak up. Listen to Mark's record, to the dialogue and follows. You know, people read Mark 12, 28, 34. So, Scribe started out as a human hero's machine. Scopusly, the one specially documents often enough and you will become of the as an Old Testament scholars. Whenever a group of scribes got together, I imagine they talk about the same stuff as us. So sports, hobbies, the family and work. You can you can almost hear and debating the same kinds of doctrinal stuff that keeps the seminary students occupied over lunch in the cafeteria. On the other more hotly debated topics dealt with the commandments, out of all commandments, God gave which was the greatest. Which type of commandment was the most important? So, the answer is obvious to us. We learned as it is 6 years old in Sunday school, try to appreciate for a minute, even though how debatable the question was before Jesus answered it is so definitely. Jewish rabbis, excuse me, slip of tongue. Jewish rabbis counted 630 commandments in the law alone. How do you begin trying to rank 613 commandments in the order of importance? So, in the time that you read 73rd, you were already forgotten in the 20 seconds. Perhaps desperate to ask the task easier, they began grouping the commandments. Those ones, broad category included commandments, pertaining to the sacrifice, the Sabbath, and circumcision to the sacrifice, the Sabbath, and circumcision. You know, there was another well-known grouping divided the commandments who is into the Torah, sacrificial worship, an expression of love. The question, the question still remained the same. Which commandment belongs in the category of commandment biggest? Leave it ring, okay? Please, people, let me tell you, no matter what you hear here, so no matter what you hear, don't get me wrong. So, Cincinnati, I know you are calling me, but please allow me to finish my message. Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, but allow me to finish my message. Since I know that you were the one calling me, and then we can talk. Thank you very much for understanding. God bless you. Oh, so the question was intellectually challenging, even more, than was spiritually important. It's like the Pharisees, Herodians, and Sadducees before him. The scribe was not looking to put Jesus on the spot. He was not interested in finding evidence against him or making fun of his doctrine. He seemed to have been sincere, when he's asked, which is the first commandment of all. So, two daunting commandments. So, Jesus, dog, D-U-G, Dick dog. Jesus dug back into the Mosaic law to put out and pull out not one, by two commandments, two for kind. First, he quoted from the Deuteronomy 6, chapter 6, 4 to 5, that orders you to love your God with all your being. If you compare what Moses wrote to what Jesus said, you discover that the Lord changed the wording slightly. Moses spoke of loving God with all one's heart, soul, and might. Jesus added, one's mind to the commandments. Across the years, preachers and Christians, writers have made much of this decision. It's easy. It's easy to see why. The heart, the heart is the seat of the emotions and the center of being. How often did Jehovah condemn Israel for her heartless worship? How often do we hear today hymns, raise prayer, pass the plates in a heartless repetition? The soul is a psyche, the inner essence of the personality. The very word soul reverberates with the eternal echo. Jesus mentioned the minds. How few believers today possess a biblical worldview? Relativism, relativism, um, existentialism. Hmm. So pluralism, secularism, and all those cloud of thinking. How little knowledge of the Bible do we actually possess? Proliferation of logical tools. So we devoted less than our minds to God today than did believers 2,000 years ago. Then there was one strength. What did Paul say? Eat or drink or whatsoever so. And again, whatsoever you do, do it heartedly. To the Lord and not to men. That one is in Colossians 3:23. Any preacher, any preacher worth his salt that can find a lot of good preaching, in a full 4-4 division of heart, soul, mind, and strength. To be honest, though we might be abusing the nest and the test when we treat in this way. Apparently, the purpose of this division is not to draw our attention to the individual parts, but to the whole. You know, it's like when you said from the top of my head to the sole of my feet. We are not trying to draw attention to the head and feet by speaking out the entire being. So, what Jesus is saying, is God wants us to love Him with our entire being. Amen, somebody. 1 minute, people. Woo! We have given so much of our time to try to figure out what Jesus meant by our heart, soul, mind, and strength. So, we have all but ignored the word love. The roots, as you might expect, is agape. You see another Greek word. You see, my language. Agape, love. You don't have to be a Greek scholar to know that agape, love, is more than one feeling. You see, I'm talking to you, me, the one that I am a native speaker. It is intentional love, a determination of esteem higher to his object. The scribe is an expert to the laws and ritual, and I've asked which commandment is greatest. To to delineate exactly what love entails, what action and what will produce, and those that will prohibit. We can all fall back as a ritualistic religion that one that has a little to do with loving relationship with the Almighty, as an album of wedding photos had to do with marriage. We we don't mean to imply that love will not influence our behavior. Jesus himself said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." A love for God will affect us, such as love that will affect everything about us, and that's precisely a point that Jesus is making when he quotes from Deuteronomy 6. The greatest commandments is the one that call us love for God that permits permits every aspect of our being. It's not love. It's not love put on certain times or places of a particular people to see. The love God demands is a constant, all-consuming love and unconditional love. A friend Alan always enjoys classic music. When I visited his office, classic music played softly from his CD player. Ooh, well, me, I love any kind. I love modern kind of Christian music. So I like Christian rock and something like Christian pop. Mm. So it's not time to discuss about that. So when he took me out for lunch, he sounded from his car radio as soon as the key turned and what's the name? Mozart provide the background. Everybody's having his own taste in everything. His his taste is that classic music and maybe nothing else. He is this music is also might be also his epicenter. But like me, I like Christian gospel. What is my taste? Taste is what you enjoy most. You know, you might even listen to something else. Yes, but you might listen to something else. But our preference is, your major taste. Your major taste. What you enjoy most. What makes you happy. So, okay. Second commandment, according to Jesus, is less daunting. Quoting from Leviticus 19:18, he said, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as himself." Love your neighbor as yourself. Hey, there's a song saying, "Love your neighbor, love your neighbor as yourself, treat each other kind." Hear the words that Jesus said and let us free your minds. Forgive the one that hurt you most. Uh, let- let's just try in the past. Sorry. Find the truth, never let it go. This is the only thing that lasts. Newsboys. That is my taste. In Christian music, no man, it doesn't matter the years I'm carrying my back. You know, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. But taste is taste. Taste has no. You know, taste has no age. You know, I might uh, primarily primarily with how we should act when we wrongs. By quoting only the last part of the commandment, Jesus removed the limitation. He lives and instead with unlimited responsibility to love our neighbor and all the time as ourselves, treat each other kind, and so on. When we took the first commandment, we get distracted by the fourfold division of heart, soul, mind, and strength. So we studied his second one. When the word neighbor leaps out to us, like a certain expert in the law whom Jesus encountered previously, we wonder, who is my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? The one who lives right next door? The one who lives right opposite you? That question become a loophole for saying to wiggle out his commandments implicates. Hey, through his parable about Good Samaritan, Jesus answered question. Our neighbor is someone who we know, whose need we see, who need God that has to put us in position to meet. The Bible is emphatic about our duty to love others. For for he loved his brother who he had seen how we can see God, who had no sin. Who? First John, for text, he beloved apostles adds. Ah, now the next one is oh, excuse me. First John 4:21. So let me see. Ooh, it will not take time before I leave you people because time is going ahead and oh, I'm feeling sleepy. Excuse me. I'm feeling sleepy. Oh, sorry. Phew. Love for God, like faith, is a personal matter. Neither, however, should we have it be a private matter. John Wesley excuse me, made a made, sorry. John Wesley made the point better than I. Christianity is essentially a social religion to turn out into a solitary religion to destroy it. So, if how many people can remember Wesley's primarily as an evangelist driven to this deep love for God? History shows that he loved his neighbors too, concerned about healthcare, for working poor. He opened a free clinic and wrote a book on home remedies. He created he created the first credit union to help for for poor avoid the debtors' prisons. So the debtors, yes. He even stipulated, you know, in his will that the 6 unemployed men be found to dig his grave, then be paid £1 each, a generous wage for even a full day's work. Despite earning great wealth from his writings, Wesley died with only £10 and a teapot to his name. He had given away everything else. Amen, somebody. So, no, the love of God commands us to have our neighbors, is more than warm, fuzzy feeling. He, he again is called for agape, love, and esteem, love that seeks the well-being of an object, love that, Wesley expressed himself in the practical ways. Jesus answered the scribe that will not be two commandments. Commandment one, you know, love your God with all your being. And commandment two, love your neighbor as yourself. The two go together. Treat each other's kind and and so on. Okay, people, that's my message for today. Okay, I have to leave you now because I myself I need rest. All right, if I'll be here not next week, I will honor you with my presence. Until then, take proper care and God bless you.